The Council's ultimatum, the Galactic Assembly Hall floated in music, the void between stars, a massive station, constructed from crystallized energy and living metal, representatives from 200 civilizations gathered in the central chamber, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some breathed methane, others existed as pure energy contained in magnetic fields, and a few were collective consciousness inhabiting mechanical shells. The chamber accommodated them all, technology and biology working in harmony to create a space where the galaxy's powers could meet. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood at the human platform, a simple raised disc, near the outer ring of the chamber. His gray suit looked plain compared to the flowing quantum robes of the synth delegation or the bioluminescent armor worn by the Christian War Council. He was average height for a human, with dark hair showing streaks of silver and calm brown eyes that had witnessed 5 years of galactic politics. Humanity had joined the Assembly 53 years ago, and most species barely remembered the occasion. Humans were known for their literature, their music that somehow touched emotions across species barriers, and their peculiar ability to form friendships with almost anyone. They were not known for power. The Korvax Dominion's representative rose from his delegation's platform. Supreme Commander Varth stood 3 m tall, his exoskeleton gleaming with metals harvested from conquered worlds. The Korvax resembled massive insects that walked upright with 4 arms and compound eyes that could see across multiple spectrums. Simultaneously, they controlled 87 star systems and commanded the second largest military fleet in known space. Only the ancient Threnodite Empire maintained more warships, and they rarely involved themselves in galactic affairs. Varus's voice resonated through translation matrices in 15,000 languages. Simultaneously, the technology converted his chittering communication into forms every species could understand. The Korvax Dominion has presented its territorial requirements to this assembly. The human colonies in the outer reach sectors contain resources essential to our industrial expansion. We have identified 17 human settlements that will be absorbed into the Dominion. The human delegation has 48 hours to acknowledge our claim. Around the chamber, delegates responded with various gestures of agreement. The Vinlari bobbed their crystalline forms, creating musical tones that meant acceptance. The Horthax delegation, beings of living shadow, darkened their containment fields, and approval. Even species friendly to humanity showed resignation rather than support. This was how the galaxy worked. Stronger civilizations took what they needed from weaker ones. It had always been this way. Marcus Webb waited for the chamber to quiet before speaking. His voice came calm and measured through the translation network. The human colonies in question housed 12 million civilians. We request 90 days to arrange safe evacuation and resettlement. Laughter rippled through the assembly. It came in many forms. The Gel 3 produced high-frequency pulses that made their translation devices beep with amusement. The Korvax delegation clicked their mandibles in a rhythm that conveyed mockery. Even the neutral observers seemed entertained by the humans' request. Varif leaned forward on his platform. You have 48 hours to acknowledge our claim. What you do with your civilians, and that time is your concern. The Korvax fleet is already en route 200,000 warships are traveling to your outer reach colonies as we speak. They will arrive in 47 days. You may evacuate if you can. You may resist if you wish. The outcome will be the same. A delegate from the Corvasian Union spoke up, her vocal sacs inflating to produce a gentle, almost sympathetic tone. Ambassador Webb, humanity has contributed much to galactic culture. Your stories bring joy across 100 worlds. Your music has inspired new artistic movements, but you must understand reality. The Korvax fleet represents power your species cannot match. You have perhaps 500 defensive vessels scattered across your territories. They are adequate for protection against pirates, but against the Dominion Armada. She made a gesture that translated as regret. Accept the inevitable. Preserve your people. Find new worlds to settle. Marcus studied the delegate for a moment. The Corvasians were genuinely kind as galactic species. They had supported humanity's application to join the assembly. They traded fairly and respected human customs. They also believed what they were saying. Everyone in this chamber believed it. Humanity was weak. Humanity was small. Humanity would lose. I appreciate the Corvasian delegation's concern, Marcus said quietly. We will need time to coordinate the evacuation. 90 days would allow us to save more lives. Var clicked his mandibles dismissively. You have 48 hours to acknowledge our claim. After that, what happens to your colonist is not our concern. The Dominion does not negotiate with species that have nothing to offer. The Assembly's arbiter, a being of pure mathematics that existed as patterns of light, manifested its judgment across every screen and display. The Korvax claim is recognized under Assembly protocols. Humanity has 48 hours to respond. This session is concluded. Delegates began departing through various portals and transport systems. Small groups formed, already discussing the spectacle they had just witnessed. Some placed wagers through their personal devices, betting on how quickly humanity would surrender. Others simply moved on to more important matters. Fate of 12 million humans and distant colonies barely registered as significant news. Marcus walked through the dispersing crowds. A few delegates offered sympathetic nods or gentle touches to his shoulder as he passed. The elderly ambassador, a being resembling a wise tortoise with 6 eyes, stopped him with a soft word. Ambassador Webb, my people were once weak. We survived by accepting our limitations. There is wisdom in knowing when to surrender. Your species is young. You will endure if you are pragmatic. Thank you for your counsel, Marcus replied. His expression remained neutral, professional. Inside his heart beat with controlled anticipation. Everything was proceeding exactly as predicted. He reached the human transport shuttle alone. The small vessel waited at a private dock, its design unremarkable by galactic standards. Efficient fusion drives, basic shielding, standard life support. Nothing that would draw attention or suggest hidden capabilities. Marcus entered the airlock and made his way to the small command cabin. Lieutenant Sarah Akinquo turned from the pilot's controls as he entered. She was young, barely 30, with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. Ambassador, I monitored the session. They went for it completely. Marcus allowed himself a small smile as he settled into the passenger seat. Send a priority transmission to Mars. Use quantum. Channel 7, code phrase winter is ending. Sarah's fingers moved across the communication console. The message would travel through quantum entangled particles impossible to intercept. Leaving no trace in normal space, it would reach Earth's inner system in moments, bypassing every conventional detection method the galaxy possessed. Message sent, sir. Command will receive it in 3 seconds. Marcus looked out the viewport at the Galactic Assembly Station. Delegates were departing in vessels of every imaginable design. Ships that bent space, others that phased between dimensions, some that simply accelerated to impossible speeds. The galaxy's technological achievement. On full display, they had built wonders. They had mastered sciences. Humanity was still learning, but they had made one critical mistake. They had assumed humanity would follow the same path everyone else had followed. They had assumed humans would develop technology in the expected sequence, build fleets in predictable numbers, and behave according to established galactic norms. They had never considered that humans might take a different approach entirely. 53 years, Marcus said quietly. 53 years of being underestimated. 53 years of playing the role they expected. Today that ends on the other side of the galaxy, in the human home system that most species called Sol. The message reached Mars, deep beneath the red planet's surface, in command centers that had existed in secret for 5 decades. Officers received the signal. Admiral Catherine Stone read the decoded message on her secure display and allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before activating the station-wide communication system. All personnel, this is Admiral Stone. Execute Shadow Protocol. Fleet activation begins now. We have 47 days until the Korvax arrive. Let's show them what humanity really built across human space and star systems. The galaxy barely bothered to monitor. Hidden facilities began final preparations. Automated shipyards that had operated in complete silence for 53 years ran final diagnostics. Weapon systems that had no equivalent in galactic databases powered up for the first time. Crews who had trained their entire lives for this moment reported to their stations. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. Artists and storytellers, musicians and dreamers, a young species still learning its place among the stars. In 47 days, they would learn the truth humanity had been preparing since the day they first looked out at the galaxy and realized they were not alone. They had built in secret, they had planned in silence, and now they were ready to reveal what happens when you threaten a species that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war against itself. The weak humans were about to become the galaxy's greatest revelation. The revelation. The Korvax armada moved through the darkness between stars like a swarm of metal locusts. 200,000 warships traveled in perfect formation, their hulls reflecting no light, their engines burning with the cold efficiency of a civilization that had conquered 87 worlds. Supreme Commander Varth observed the fleet from his command throne aboard the Dominion's Fist, a dreadnought that stretched 4 km from bow to stern. Around him, officers monitored thousands of displays showing tactical data, energy readings, and navigation coordinates. Time to arrival at the first human colony, Var asked, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. 37 hours. Supreme Commander, his navigation officer responded. We are approaching the Kepler sector. The human colony of New Harmony will be the first target. Population 800,000. Defensive capability minimal. Varif studied the tactical display. Intelligence reports showed exactly what he expected: a handful of human patrol ships, outdated fusion drives, kinetic weapons that belonged in a museum, and shields that could barely stop micrometeorites. The entire human defensive force in this sector numbered perhaps 40 vessels against 200,000 Korvax warships. They would last minutes. At best, across the galaxy, 17 billion sentient beings watched live broadcast of the approaching fleet. Every major news network carried continuous coverage. Camera drones positioned throughout the region transmitted images of the massive armada. Commentators from dozens of species provided analysis, though all their conclusions pointed to the same inevitable outcome: the Korvax formation is textbook perfect. Military analyst from the 10th Collective explained to viewers her species resembled elegant mantises made of living crystal. You can see how they've organized their fleet into strike wings. Each wing contains 10,000 ships capable of coordinating fire with precision against the human defensive positions. This represents overwhelming force. I estimate the battle will last no more than 20 minutes. Another analyst, a Venari whose form pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, added his perspective. What makes this particularly tragic is that humanity had options. They could have negotiated. The Korvax would have allowed civilian evacuation if humans had been cooperative. Instead, we're seeing a show of defiance that will accomplish nothing except loss of life. In the Galactic Assembly Station, delegates gathered in observation rooms to watch the spectacle. Some felt genuine sadness, others viewed it as an educational moment about the dangers of resisting stronger powers. A few placed final wagers on how many human ships would be destroyed in the opening salvo. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood alone in the human observation room, a small chamber with view screens showing multiple angles of the Korvax advance. He had not left the station, had not returned to Earth. He wanted to be here, among the delegates who had dismissed humanity for 53 years. When the truth finally revealed itself, his personal communicator vibrated with an incoming quantum signal. He glanced at the message: all fleet elements in position, awaiting your signal. Stone. Marcus smiled and returned his attention to the view screens. The Korvax armada was crossing into the Kepler sector now. Their sensors would be sweeping human colonies, cataloging targets, preparing firing solutions. They would be confident, certain of victory, completely unprepared for what was about to happen. Aboard the Dominion's Fist, sensor alerts suddenly filled the bridge. With urgent tones, officers scrambled to their stations as their displays lit up with impossible readings. Supreme Commander, the sensor chief's voice carried a note of confusion that Var had never heard from his veteran crew. I'm detecting massive energy signatures. Multiple locations. I count 100,000 contacts emerging from behind the moon of New Harmony. Varus's compound eyes focused on the tactical display. Blue icons appeared, representing unknown vessels. They emerged from positions that should have been empty space. His sensors had swept that region hours ago and found nothing. What are those ships? Where did they come from unknown classification. Supreme Commander, their large vary. Large, individual vessels measure approximately 6 km in length, power. Signatures exceed anything in our database. They're moving into defensive formation around the colony. Before VAR could respond, more alerts cascaded. Across the bridge systems, additional contacts, 200,000 ships emerging from the asteroid clusters in the neighboring system, another 100,000 appearing from beyond the gas giant in Sector 4. Supreme Commander, I'm reading energy signatures from everywhere. They were hiding, they were all hiding. Tactical display transformed into a sea of blue icons, human ships, hundreds of thousands of them appearing from positions throughout the sector. They emerged from behind planets and moons, from within asteroid fields, from the shadows of gas giants where their energy signatures had been masked by natural radiation. Locations that the Korvax had scanned and dismissed as empty now revealed themselves as hiding places for the largest fleet VAR had ever seen. Total count, VAR demanded, his voice losing its confidence for the first time in his military career. Sensor Chief worked frantically at his station trying to compile accurate numbers as more ships continued to appear. Sir, I'm reading 500,000 vessels. No, wait, the count is still climbing. 520,000. 550,000. Supreme Commander, they have more than 500,000 warships across the galaxy. Broadcasts erupted in chaos. Camera drones captured images of human ships appearing by the hundreds of thousands. Analysts who had been confidently predicting human defeat moments ago sat in stunned silence. Viewership numbers skyrocketed as billions more tuned in to witness the impossible. The sleek vessels that filled every screen defied galactic expectations. Each human dreadnought measured 6 km in length and 3 km across. At its widest point, their hulls appear to be constructed from materials that absorbed sensor beams, making them difficult to analyze even now that they were visible. Strange geometric patterns covered their surfaces, designs that suggested purposes no galactic engineer could immediately identify. Those power signatures, a Threnodai military expert whispered during a live broadcast. His ancient species had built fleets for 10,000 years, and even he struggled to comprehend what the sensors reported. Those readings indicate energy generation beyond anything in current use. If those numbers are accurate, each human ship produces more power than our largest stations. How is that possible? In the Galactic Assembly Station, delegates rushed to observation rooms. Screens throughout the station showed the same staggering images. 500,000 human warships in perfect formation surrounding the Korvax armada. From every direction, the mighty Dominion fleet that had seemed so overwhelming minutes ago now looked small and vulnerable. Marcus Webb's communicator received another message. All targets acquired, weapons locked. Awaiting orders, he activated his personal broadcast, a signal that would reach every major network in the galaxy. His image appeared on billions of screens, standing calm and composed in the human observation room. Behind him, view screens showed the tactical situation in the Kepler sector. Honored delegates of the Galactic Assembly, Marcus began, his voice carrying across light years to reach every corner of known space. For 53 years you have known humanity as artists and musicians, as storytellers who brought you entertainment as a young species still, finding its place among the stars. Today you see us as we truly are. He gestured to the screens behind him. You are witnessing 560,000 human dreadnoughts. Each vessel was constructed in secret. Over the past 5 decades, we built them in hidden shipyards throughout our territories. We concealed them using stealth technology you did not know we possessed. We powered them with energy systems we developed ourselves, systems that surpass current galactic standards by significant margins. The camera drones zoomed in on individual human ships. The vessels moved with precision that suggested advanced automation. Their formations shifted and adjusted with coordination that seemed impossible for organic crews to achieve. Energy readings pulsed from their cores, patterns that indicated revolutionary power generation. You see only what we chose to reveal, Marcus continued, while you watched our public fleet of 500 patrol vessels. We constructed a military force larger than any in galactic history. We did this because we learned an important lesson when we first joined your assembly. Power determines survival, strength commands respect. We chose to appear weak while we built strength in secret. Aboard the Dominion's fist, Var stared at his tactical display in growing horror. The human fleet had formed a perfect sphere around his armada. Every Corvex ship was targeted by multiple human vessels. Firing solutions appeared on his screens, showing trajectories and weapon placements that indicated the humans had been tracking his fleet for days, perhaps weeks. They had known his exact approach vector, his formation patterns, his tactical preferences. Analysis of human vessels. Var ordered, his voice tight with stress. His science officer worked rapidly. Supreme Commander, preliminary scans indicate weapon systems we cannot fully identify. I'm detecting what appear to be magnetic acceleration chambers of enormous size, particle beam emitters using quantum entanglement for targeting energy, weapons that generate power through controlled singularity events. Their defensive capabilities include shields that phase between multiple dimensional state. Supreme Commander, these ships incorporate technologies we have never encountered. A communication request came from the human fleet. Var accepted it and a new face appeared on his command screen. A human female with short gray hair and ice blue eyes wore a uniform that marked her as military leadership. Behind her, a command center bustled with activity. Officers monitoring countless displays. Supreme Commander Varth, the woman said. Her voice carried absolute authority. I am Admiral Catherine Stone of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are currently surrounded by 560,000 human warships. Each vessel is larger, faster, and more heavily armed than anything in your armada. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender your fleet. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of every Corvox vessel in this sector. Var's mandibles clicked in agitation. This is impossible. Our intelligence showed only minimal human military capability. Did you build such a fleet? How did you hide it from every sensor sweep, every intelligence operation? Catherine Stone's expression remained cold. Your intelligence saw what we wanted you to see. We've been preparing for this possibility since the day we learned we We're not alone in the universe. Did you really think a species that conquered its own planet, that built civilizations from nothing, that survived 10,000 years of warfare against itself, would simply accept being prey for stronger powers? She leaned forward slightly. You have 40 seconds to surrender. In the galactic assembly station, the Corvasian delegate, who had spoken sympathetically to Marcus earlier, watched the broadcast with her vocal sacs deflated in shock. Around her, other delegates stood frozen. Elderly ambassador, who had counseled surrender, made a sound that his translator rendered as disbelief. The Synth Collective's representative, beings known for their analytical precision, finally found words. Industrial capacity required to build over 500,000 warships. The resources needed to power them. The coordination to hide construction across multiple star systems for 53 years. This represents planning and deception on a scale we have never witnessed. Marcus Webb spoke again, his voice reaching across the galaxy. We are not conquerors. We did not build this fleet to threaten our neighbors or expand our territories. We built it because we refused to be victims. The Korvax Dominion came to take our colonies by force. They believed we were too weak to resist. Today they learned the cost of that assumption. Aboard the Dominion's fist, Var looked at his tactical officer. Can we fight our way out? The officer's compound eyes showed patterns that indicated deep fear. Supreme Commander, we are outnumbered nearly 3-1. Their vessels show superior capabilities across every category. If we engage, we will be destroyed. All of us, every ship in this fleet. 20 seconds remained. Varus's career had been built on conquest and victory. He had personally commanded fleets that destroyed resistance on 40 worlds. The Korvax Dominion had never surrendered to anyone, but as he looked at the tactical display at the 500,000 human warships holding perfect formation around his fleet, he understood that pride was a luxury he could no longer afford. Power down all weapons, Var ordered, his voice hollow. Lower shields. Transmit surrender protocols to the human fleet across 200,000 Korvax warships. Weapon systems went dark. The mighty armada that had traveled across the galaxy to claim human colonies now sat helpless in space, surrounded by force they had never imagined existed. Admiral Catherine Stone watched her displays as the Korvax fleet complied. Around her, officers monitored every ship, ready to respond to any hostile action, but none came. The Korvax had surrendered completely. Maintain targeting solutions, Catherine ordered. Prepare boarding parties. We'll secure their command ships first, then process the rest of the fleet. She opened a channel to Marcus Webb at the Galactic Assembly. Ambassador, the Korvax fleet has surrendered. No shots fired. I'm transmitting full tactical data to your position. Marcus nodded. Well done, Admiral. Hold position. Let the galaxy watch what happens when you threaten humanity. Across 17 billion screens, sentient beings watched in absolute silence. The weak humans, the artists and storytellers, the species everyone had dismissed, had just forced the second largest military power in the galaxy to surrender without firing a single shot. 500,000 warships hung in space like silent monuments to humanity's secret strength. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The frail newcomers had revealed themselves as the most powerful military force in known space, and every civilization that had ever considered humanity as potential prey now understood a fundamental truth: humans had been patient, preparing, waiting for someone to make the mistake of threatening them. That day had come, and humanity had shown the galaxy exactly what happens when you underestimate a species that spent millennia perfecting the art of survival.